Hello and welcome to this episode of NTV Chat. I'm Devendra Subedi. After a long time, we are privileged to have in our studio the European Ambassador to EU Ambassador to Nepal, Excellency Nona Deprez. Welcome to our show, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Devendra, for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, especially at a time when you are about to leave this country, completing your 3 years term. I would like to start with the 50 years partnership between Nepal and the European Union. How do you see these 50 years that have gone by?
Well, first, I think I'll be very sad that I am not here for the celebrations next year. I think we have really come a long way, although Europe and Nepal are not geographic neighbors. We have a very long, mature partnership now based on mutual respect, and we share a lot of common values. So we work together very well, and we agree on many issues. Look at climate change, the upholding international rules-based order. We work together very well. I think we're close partners.
So you're happy that these 50 years have gone by the outcome have been, could it have been a bit much better or stronger in certain areas that you expect?
I think things can always be better, of course. I think we've seen a lot of challenges. We've had COVID.
Yeah.
If we look at climate change, if we look at the war in Ukraine now, I think the EU has come to realize that we need to be stronger together. We need to work with all of our partners in the world. So we're very happy to work with Nepal. I think obviously we can always work better on many different fields, but that's why we want to have these celebrations. We hope that this celebration will be a milestone and will also help to further enhance and to further increase and strengthen European Union-Nepal relations. We hope there will be high-level visits and that we can continue to work together, yes.
Is it that the European Union's interest in countries like Nepal is to promote more equitable society, good governance, education, empowerment? Beyond that, is there any other hidden agendas like as such?
So the European Union believes very, very strongly in ownership.
Yeah.
So here in Nepal, we support Nepal on your own priority, because we think that you are the ones who know best what is best for you, what you need. So we are absolutely aligned, for example, on the 15th National Nepal Development Plan. We work on our common priorities. But of course, we also have our own priorities. If you look at it, we have the same ambitious climate goals like Nepal. We want to become climate neutral by 2050. You want to become climate neutral by 2040. Yeah. That is a priority for us. But we also realize that, since we contribute 8% of greenhouse gas emissions on our own, we cannot make it, and climate change does not know any borders. So we're very happy and delighted to work with Nepal on this, which is your priority and which is also our priority.
As we talk about climate change, Excellency, we are among the countries that are most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. The support that countries like Nepal get, is it enough to face the looming dangers of climate change? Right at this moment, Europe is recording highest temperatures ever, for example. So do you think there should be more support to countries like Nepal to counter the impacts of climate change?
Well, support also can always be more, that's clear. But the European Union really wants to play its role and really wants to do its bit. So if you look at it here in Nepal, European Union, along with many other development partners of Nepal, we have signed up to Nepal's Green, Resilient, Inclusive Development Agenda. That is an agenda which has to be strongly owned by Nepal government, by the provincial levels, by the local levels, by civil society, by business, by consumers, by citizens. We are here to support your agenda, but you, of course, need to own this and you need to lead on this agenda. I think if you look at it historically, of course, Nepal has hardly contributed to greenhouse gas emissions. But now Nepal's greenhouse gas emissions are increasing very quickly. So it would be really best if you would leapfrog immediately to clean technologies, to circular economy, without making the mistakes that we have made. And in that way, we also want to support you. If you, for example, at COP27, we have agreed to establish a loss and damage fund. We're happy to contribute to that. We are the biggest contributor to climate finance in the world too. So here in Nepal, we work with our European partners as, you know, Team Europe together on renewable energy, on solar energy, on hydropower. We also work on forestry, on water, on climate smart agriculture. So I think we're trying to support Nepal as best as we can on this agenda, which is very important for all of us, and we just owe it to our children, to everyone, to the planet, and it is Excellency, for our well-being.
As you said, you work with the policy level in terms of promoting greener and sustainable development. As the country is preparing the 16th five-yearly plan, how do you work with the National Planning Commission in terms of policy making? How do you help them, or let's say, as you said, you don't want Nepal to make the same mistakes that the European countries made earlier. So your learnings could be guidelines for countries like Nepal as the Planning Commission prepares the next five-yearly plan.
So we know that Planning Commission is preparing the 16th National Development Plan, is consulting for the moment. I believe National Planning Commission will also consult the development partners. I think this plan is obviously very closely aligned to the graduation strategy from least developed country status. So I think all of these plans have to come together because this goal should really be the overarching goal for better recovery, greener recovery. And we're ready to support Nepal.
Exactly, I'm coming to the point because by 2026, Nepal aims to graduate from LDC to the next level. Now, what role does exactly, what support does Nepal need from the European Union at this moment?
So we're here to support you, but we are happy to support Nepal's graduation strategy once it comes out, once it's finalized. It's also being consulted for the moment. And we will, of course, continue to support Nepal once Nepal has graduated in order to make sure that this graduation is sustainable. I think an important part of the graduation strategy will be to prepare to apply for our preferential trade regime, which provides access to the European market, which is called GSP+. We very strongly link trade to sustainable development. We think that's in the interest of our consumers, but also in the interest of your workers, of your citizens, of the well-being of all people. So for this, we link trade and preferential access to our very big common market, to environmental rights, to labor rights, to human rights, because we also want to make sure that this world becomes more environmentally sustainable, more socially sustainable. So for that, Nepal still needs to do a few things, and we're ready to support Nepal in that. For me, coming from a European point of view, 2026 is really just around the corner.
Do you think will it be possible?
Of course it's possible.
But having said that, there are certain privileges as LDC you get, and Nepal will be deprived of that. How would Nepal handle that situation, Nepal's economy or the government or the policy in terms of that?
So this has been known since November 2021 that you're graduating. The graduation will happen in 2026, but there's a 3-year transition period until 2029, where Nepal will still benefit from Everything But Arms. Everything But Arms provides zero duty, zero quota access to the European market. Unfortunately, Nepal has not been able to fully exploit this super preferential regime. So Nepal, for the moment, does not stand to lose that much. But more importantly, Nepal should really try until 2029 to make more use of that preferential regime. And then
of those privileges that it's getting as an LDC.
And then also, I mean, there have been many studies by economists in Nepal also showing that in the region, everyone is graduating. So you're not losing a comparative advantage compared to Bangladesh, Laos. They're graduating at the same time. Sri Lanka has already graduated. Pakistan has already graduated. So there is no reason to be afraid of that. You're not losing a comparative advantage in the region. And of course, what will be important is to have full value chains here in Nepal. For example, we support the Pashmina value chain, where we also support the harvesting of raw material here in Nepal instead of buying abroad, so that you can make truly Nepali branded Pashmina. And then, of course, I think the LDC group, for the moment, Nepal is chair of the LDC group. You can continue to negotiate at WTO for rules of origin, those kind of things.
So this can be done until 2029 during the 3 years transition period?
Well, my opinion is that you should start now. That you should have started yesterday.
That was the reason why I just asked you, is it realistically practical by 2026 Nepal will graduate? It's just a matter of graduation is different thing, but coping up with that particular situation, is it going to be difficult, the transition?
I think not, if Nepal is prepared. Nepal knows this since 2 years. It's going to happen. There's no way back.
Especially at a time the global economy and the Nepalese economy as well has seen signs of certain problems. Will that be a concern, this graduation phase, as it comes in the next 3 years?
No, it's not a concern. So I think Nepal is ready to graduate. Of course, Nepal still needs to prepare, and we're ready to support Nepal in this. I think this is absolutely doable. And then you have to make sure that it's sustainable. So you have to keep up those, value chains. Try to increase exports. You're increasing exports already, but for example, also increasing domestic electricity consumptions, things like that. That will change really the economy of Nepal.
There's pretty nominal trade between European Union or the member countries, European Union member countries and Nepal. Do you see a possibility that this could be taken to a next level?
Absolutely, yes.
But do we have to wait for the transition, or even as a LDC, Nepal can promote more trade activities with European member countries?
Yeah, I think you should start now. Absolutely, because now you have all of these benefits, all of these privileges. Nepal has a very positive image in Europe. So it has really a marketing advantage, and you should build on that very positive image in Europe. So that is, for example, why we are supporting the Pashmina sector, we're supporting the coffee sector. And there are other niche products with high added value which Nepal could export more to Europe.
You said you had a very positive image, except for the aviation, I guess.
Yes, well, Europe is very concerned about the safety of its citizens and of citizens in the world. So that is our primary concern, is safety of passengers.
So this will continue as long as the safety concerns are not satisfied. The ban on Nepalese airlines in the European skies would continue. So
this is a very technical issue. So it's really for technical experts to decide. So the European Union, for example, through its Aviation Safety Agency, has been supporting Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal since many years. Many member states have also provided support to Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal. I think we believe that there has been a lot of progress in terms of safety. There was supposed to be, an on-site assessment visit earlier this year. That was postponed because of the crash, the unfortunate crash at Pokhara airport. That is still on the cards. We're working with Civil Aviation Authority. So
there's also certain work going on there which could be lifted in future if the concerns are satisfied. Excellency, I come back again to the trade. Why is it that the trade, Nepal hasn't been able to expand trade activities with European countries? Is it because of the quality, or is it because of the other values, things like, for example, European market consumes things that are very clean, that are more greener, that are more sustainable approach, or there's social empowerment involved in it? Why is it that it hasn't been able to explore the European market as of now?
So I think one issue is indeed consistency of quality. So the European market requires very consistent high quality. So for that you need to have certifications and you need to have labs and you need to have consistent high quality. We have also supported Nepal on that. We have provided lab equipment, we have provided training. Unfortunately, there's also very often a high turnover of staff here in Nepal, so we continue training, but we need really institution building. And then you're very right. Consumers in Europe are more and more concerned and more taking an interest in when they purchase something and how it has been produced. So we're looking at green production, we're looking at things that are environmentally sustainable. But there again, I think Nepal really has an advantage, has a role to play. You have natural materials that are very much in demand in Europe.
When we talk about trade in Europe, like there's specific things only that come you can handpick things. For example, Excellency, you just talk about pasmina or Nepali carpet maybe. There are only very, very specific items that we see is exported to Europe. So you see during this period, Nepal can expedite its trade activities with European member countries.
Yes. So we have also organized the first EU-Nepal business forum in May this year with the European Economic Chamber. We have tried to encourage European business to come to Nepal, to increase trade, to increase investment. So we will, I think, next year organize again. And that's also very good, of course, for trade.
That's a good platform where
it's a good platform.
The entrepreneurs from both the sides interact and develop their networking as well. Now, you have always advocated greener, resilient development. Among the cooperation or the projects that are run under the European Union cooperation, how do you see the outcome and results of those projects so far? Do they support you and the Nepal's agenda of developing greener, sustainable, resilient sort of society?
Yes. Well, I mean, if you look at some of our projects, we have just started. But some have been going on since a long time. So, for example, our Finnish colleagues, they have been working on water since long time here in Nepal. And we have continued with our Finnish colleagues to provide more water in sustainable ways in villages, and then also providing greenhouses so that people can grow vegetables and fruits, but also in a climate smart way, and also trying to reduce the risk of disasters and trying also to reduce the impact of disasters. So that project, which is I think very well known in Suruvachim, is called RVW RMP, the Rural Village Water Management Project. It's now called Suswa, and it's in Karnali. And I think, for example, that's just an example. We're doing really good work with that.
So you're very happy with the outcome of these projects?
Yeah, I mean, of course, everything can also still be better.
Of course, there's always room to be better.
There's
but
always room for improvement. If you look, for example, we're working with our German colleagues on trying to increase public-private partnerships in solar power to have solar grids. That is also very important in remote areas. So I think those are also very important projects. We're working also on transmission lines, which is important. No, it's not only electricity generation, but electricity distribution will also be very important.
Excellency, we just spoke about being carbon neutral. The European countries' ambition is a bit much earlier than what Nepal aims at 2040. So
no, we are later.
Let's say Nepal's 2040. But given the fact that we haven't achieved, our contribution is very less as of now. But there's still a phase where probably Nepal needs to emit a bit more when it goes to development activities. Do you think 2040 is too early for Nepal, or do you think it's too ambitious?
Well, I think
it's achievable.
I think Nepal has done its homework before announcing those very ambitious goals. We welcome those ambitious goals, so I suppose that if Nepal has announced it, I think it is absolutely doable.
So why is it that European countries still have a later date and Nepal has to rush for 2040? It's not a bad thing that you are rushing it and you're not doing what I mean, but Because as I said earlier, there are certain areas where Nepal could have done much better in industrial development phases yet to come. Many believe in that. So don't you think it's a bit of a rush for Nepal to go for 2040?
I think if you look also at the first goal, which is to increase forest coverage in Nepal from 42 to 45%, that's also absolutely doable. So you get also carbon credits for those forests. So I think also by the way it has been formulated to have an accumulation also of carbon credits and to become even carbon negative by 2040 is really doable. You're also promoting solar energy. There's a high potential for solar energy here. There's a high potential for hydropower. All of that is really excellent to achieve your goal, because you will be using clean energy inside. You will decrease your imports of dirty energy. You will decrease your imports of coal. So all of that will really help you to achieve that goal.
Another area that EU has been working in Nepal is disaster risk reduction. And it's one of the key areas of saving lives as well. How does it work with the United Nations goals in terms of disaster risk reduction? Do you collaborate with that?
Yes, we work very closely together. So we are of course also part of the humanitarian country team. I think we've really worked a lot on disaster risk reduction. If you look at, for example, the floods early warning, we've worked with the Department of Meteorology and Hydrology, and now instead of being able to announce a flood 2 hours before the flood occurs, the Department of Hydrology is able to announce it 3 days in advance. So this is really saving lives. So it means that there have been no lives lost because of these late announcements.
Exactly. So has early warning system covered the entire population in Nepal?
So yes, so that has started, and it has now been covered on flood early warning, but we're taking it one step further and we're going from early warning to early action. So now in the areas where we work in Bardia, in Kailali, in Kanchanpur and Baque, we are now also working on early action. So if we have the early warning, then the municipalities can evacuate those people that are differently abled or pregnant women or elderly people, so they can also really take early action. And building on this, we are now also working with Nepal on early warning in terms of landslides. And of course we have supported Nepal when the earthquake occurred and also in the reconstruction.
Excellency, we are almost running out of time now. Just to wrap up your 3 years as the European Union ambassador to Nepal, how do you assess your term in these 3 years?
So I arrived in a bit of a challenging moment in between the first and the second COVID wave, but it's been an absolute privilege and honor for me to represent the European Union here in Nepal. I have enjoyed I think an amazing warm welcome from Nepal. I've met so many amazing, fascinating, different people, young people, women, different people, and I think it's the same motto. You have the same motto as we have, which is unity and diversity. So it's been a fascinating 3 years for me here, yes. I've been very lucky.
Final question to you, Excellency. As you're leaving this country, what advice do you give to the policy makers of this country on promoting greener, sustainable and more resilient, let's say, development in a faster pace?
So I think it's really not for me to provide any advice. So I think Nepal's agenda is this green, resilient, inclusive development. For us, what is very important is also a just transition, which means leaving no one behind. It is important for every society in the world to use to the fullest extent its full resources so that you can really exploit and get to your full potential. So I think that is one important way for Nepal to get to a resilient, faster development.
Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts, Excellency. It was a privilege having you on our show.
Thank you so much, Devendra.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just had a very, very intriguing conversation with Her Excellency Nona Deprez, the European Union Ambassador to Nepal, who is wrapping up her 3 years tenure in Nepal and leaving the country in a short while. As we heard how the European Union has been collaborating with Nepal in different areas, from disaster risk reduction to governance to empowering local people. So these were the areas where European Union has been working with Nepal. Thank you so much for being with us on this episode of NTV Chat. We'll be back with another edition. Until then, from all of us here at the NTV Chat, goodbye.